What's your take on that? I mean, that was the first thing that jumped in my mind. That maybe this whole thing wasn't as peaceful as it had appeared at first glance. Welcome to another episode from Takedowns to Breakdowns with A&P. And I can't believe on the second episode of the new year, we're here to talk about Slayer.
That's why I'm like this right now. Because you just said we're here to talk about Slayer.
But I didn't tell you what it was.
You didn't tell me what it is, so I'm intrigued.
Alright, so Kerry King did an interview, and he mentioned that he's really upset that Slayer call it quits because they took away his livelihood. And that to me opened a little bit of a Pandora's box, because I thought, and I want to get your take on this, I thought that the whole Slayer, not breakup, because they didn't really break up, they just call it quits. I thought that was unanimous.
I thought it was a mutual thing.
Yeah, I thought it was like everybody agreed, you know what, we've gone down this road too many times. I think we've...
How many times can you fucking Slayer?
How many times can we hear people saying Slayer and all of this shit? I think we've sold enough merch at an extensive overprice. I think we've done enough touring. My back hurts. My neck hurts. I'm getting old. I need to kick back with my old lady. Maybe buy a bike and fix it up and ride it into the sunset. Whatever the case might be, right? Okay. But I thought, I thought it was unanimous. I thought everybody agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It turns out it's not. So, what's your take on that? I mean, that was the first thing that jumped in my mind. That maybe this whole thing wasn't as peaceful as it had appeared at first glance.
Well, that also just takes away the whole... you said that there would be another Slayer reunion tour this year.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not anymore.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm not sad about it, but if I'm hearing that it takes away his livelihood, I'm pretty sad about that. I mean, you never want someone's livelihood.
I mean, he's still making money off of royalties and stuff, but obviously he's not making the money he was making before. They're not touring.
Obviously. So it's never good to hear.
It's not going to be the same.
It's never good to hear someone, is losing a little bit of their livelihood there. Is there anything to do with that, though? That's the real question.
Well, for me, the first thought was, okay, this wasn't really a unanimous decision.
No, obviously, it wasn't unanimous.
All right? So then the thing that I thought was...
How did it actually break down?
Okay, so everybody knows that Tom Araya had some neck issues. He had neck surgery, that kind of stuff. We know his body wasn't up to...
date.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a cyborg, right? He's like a human like all of us, and headbanging for a huge period of his time...
He's past his best before.
Yeah, he's things are falling apart a little bit. You know what I mean? So, what I'm thinking is that I don't know who owns the rights to the Slayer name. That's first and foremost. I don't know if it's owned by the members of Slayer. I don't know if the two original members of Slayer, being Kerry King and Tom Araya, own the rights to the name Slayer, and then one without the other, they can't do anything because there's a legal issue. I don't know those legalities. But from this story, what I take is that Tom Araya didn't want to continue.
But Kerry King did. And they figure it out that they couldn't... Maybe they figure out two things. One, if there's that legality issue that without me there's no Slayer and you cannot continue without me because we both... You can't continue without one of them, so either way...
But to me, it's two-folded. So I was going to say, one, maybe there's a legal issue on why the band couldn't continue. And two, maybe they realize without the lead singer and original band member, Tom Araya on bass and vocal, without him, do you really have Slayer at that point?
No,
you have a Slayer cover band.
Exactly.
Because then there's only one original member left.
Yeah, and that's where you come into the issue. Maybe it was unanimous.
It could have been one or the other.
I feel like it probably was unanimous.
I don't think Kerry King had a choice, to be honest.
But I don't think he had a choice. I think it was unanimous that I think it was.
It was unanimous in terms. Okay, we're gonna
end it.
Okay, maybe he came to the table and said, "We're ending this. I'm ending this. I'm walking away." Now it's a matter of deciding when is the end date, but we need to have an end date. I don't think it's do what you want, because once again, I don't think they could have continued without him.
No.
That's number one. And then from a legal point of view, I don't know if they could.
Yeah.
I don't know if they could. So, I think it was a forced decision.
Yeah.
I think it was a forced decision. Now, they may have agreed on, okay, this is the date. We'll do touring. We'll announce that we're ending. This is the end date. So maybe that was unanimous, that part of it. But the actual ending of the things, obviously it wasn't.
Yeah, and this is a weird situation, though. It's very weird because
Now you're hearing that, you know...
But nobody's stopping him from starting his own band.
But that's what I was about to say. And you hear all this stuff about it, and then you're like, okay, I feel bad, but also he's still making money on the royalties and stuff. They can allow him to live. Because it's Slayer. They're a big-ass band.
Yeah, I know, but it's not the same as...
But it's not the same as what he was making.
Stadiums and fucking merchandise.
Or just going on tour in general.
Plus, he probably misses going on tour.
Of course.
He's probably tired of dealing with his old lady.
I feel like, you know, with his talent and everything, he could totally either make a side project, a solo project, and just hire guys to go on tour with him if he wants. So, like, you have the musical talent. I'm not saying, oh, it must, with that talent, you must be so... Obviously, it's hard to make music in general. But instead of just sitting there like, okay, well, now I can't... What do I do? Try something.
I have a simple option for this. I don't know how much thought they put into this, but okay, now it's been a couple of years since they retired. They retired in 2019, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So it's been a couple of years now, dude. Do what Rage Against the Machine did. They came back with Chris Cornell on vocals and called themselves Audioslave. It was still Rage Against the Machine.
That's also true, but then it's different.
You just start a new band with a new lead singer. I mean,
but that means they also have to change sound and everything too.
No, they can do the same shit.
What do you mean?
They can do the same thing.
Rage Against the Machine and Audioslave, they have similarity in a little bit, but they're nowhere near each other.
Because they could not do the same sound compared to who the vocalist was.
Of course.
Okay, but you can get the same style.
Yeah, vocalist. But in my opinion, you don't do that.
I don't see Kerry King going gent.
I don't see, but to be honest with you, that is like, oh, that's a good idea, but in the long, it's not going to work. There's no way you make.
No, you take.
There's no way you make. Slayer,
you take the name of one of the Slayer songs. You call yourselves Angel of Death, or Mandatory Suicide, or South of Heaven, or Raining Blood. Like, I mean, just pick.
But then
you bring another singer in. Bring Alex Terrible in.
I don't know, man.
To sing for you.
I don't know. In my opinion, no. There's no way. Because now...
But I don't see Kerry King outside of thrash or death metal. What the fuck is he going to be playing in?
I can... Okay, but that's why you can't see it. But there's definitely a possibility.
Power metal. Kerry King doing power metal.
He could just do... I mean, he does like thrash death. I mean, he could just do like fast thrash or some bullshit. Like, he can just keep on the thrash but move into a different form of thrash. You don't have to fully leg away from what you're already doing. But what I'm saying is, if you just keep the guys, you can keep the guys. You can keep the guys, right? And just get a new singer. But you gotta change the style. Because then you're just
yeah, okay. You don't have to change the genre, but you have to change the lyrical approach.
You gotta change the genre. Because then you're just Slayer Light. You're just Slayer Light. You're just Slayer Light.
So you're saying that with Audioslave, because they went in a completely different sound...
It's a completely different band. Even though it has the same band members.
But for example, when I went to see Prophets of Rage, they were playing Rage Against the Machine songs.
Because it's Prophets of Rage.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Like, obviously,
the Disciples of Slayer, it would have been okay, for example.
If they're called like,
the Disciples of Slayer.
Slade or whatever the fuck, right? Like
Slade, okay, I like that. All right.
If there's something like that, where they're obviously just going to play the new music that sounds like Slayer and then Slayer music... I get it. Then you're just pulling...
So they could do that.
Then you're just pulling...
Prophets of Rage.
Prophets of Rage.
Okay, so they could do that then.
They could totally do that. But will it be received as good as Prophets of Rage was?
I think Prophets of Rage, I think they would. You know why? Because Prophets of Rage came at a time where everybody wanted to listen to Rage Against the Machine. But there was no fucking Rage Against the Machine.
That's different. It's completely different.
And then not only that, Public Enemy was not doing any shit. Cypress Hill was not doing any shit. So you, in one sitting, you got to hear songs from 3 iconic bands, right? That you normally don't get a chance to hear. Right now you can't hear Slayer, right? There's no Slayer.
No.
So if he finds a lead singer from a band that's no longer around, like a band like... I can't think of a thrash band right now that's no longer around. But, But I'm sure there are.
There's definitely are.
I'm sure there are. So if you can find the lead singer of a band that's no longer around, that maybe has a little bit of a ring to it, and you bring them in, and you do Slayer songs, and then maybe you can even do some songs from that band, I think then you may have something there.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with you then. But
and people would pay. People
would definitely pay, obviously.
People are paying for Pantera, and there's only like 2 Pantera guys there.
Yeah. But that's different because they have the lead singer.
True, but once again, it plays on what I'm saying. If the person that they bring, it all depends on who the lead singer is.
Yeah.
Right?
Listen, I agree with you. Like, they could totally do the Prophets.
If you bring like a guy, for example, let me say this: if you bring a guy like John Bush, who's an Armored Saint currently, and he was before, but he also had a stint with Anthrax, you bring him in, right? I don't know if he can sing Slayer songs. Okay, that's a completely different question. But he can definitely do some Anthrax covers while they're at it.
Okay, but there you go. Then you can't do the Prophets of Rage thing because you can't do the Slayer songs. That's where you get your problem. You have to find.
Then you bring two guys like.
You have to find a vocalist that is able to do Slayer songs and songs that are Slayer inspired. But it's hard to find a guy who's able to do that and not fuck up the Slayer songs or fuck up the songs he's already doing.
I just think that if whatever they did, even if they brought an unknown guy and they call themselves Disciples of Slayer or Slayered, whatever,
he would make money, of course. He'd make money.
People would go see it.
People would go see it. Even if it was like not as good as Slayer, people would still go see it.
Because the fans of Slayer, you're still getting to see Kerry King, you're still getting to see Gary Holt. Like, I mean,
and they're playing Slayer songs.
But
they're also going to play some new shit that kind of sounds like Slayer.
Staff on drums, like, fuck, you're still seeing Slayer songs.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, if you want to go really old school,
I don't know. For me,
if you want to really pull, if you're really concerned about your bottom line and you're not making enough money, then you bring Dave Lombardo back on drums, right? And that is more almost of a reunion at that point. Because now, okay, you have a new singer who's not part of Slayer. You get Gary Holt, who was a fill-in into Slayer, but it was not an original member. But now you have two still original members on the band, Dave Lombardo and Kerry King. So I think there's permutations in which it could work.
Yeah.
For a tour. I'm not saying work forever, but at least for like a good run.
Or one album. Like make an album.
One album and then 1 or 2 years of touring. That's what Prophets of Rage did. They did one, and then they went on tour for 2 years, and that was it.
But then after that 1 and 2 years, he's back on the couch. And then he's going to complain again.
And then look what happened with Rage Against the Machine. Zach De La Rocha was like, oh, I need some money. Okay, let's get back together and let's do a fucking tour. They not even released an album. They went on a tour and it was sold out. Now he blew his Achilles tendon, but okay, that's a different story. So by then, maybe Tom is like, fuck, I'm tired of seeing these motherfuckers making money off of my songs. I want to go back on tour. And then you do a fucking reunion tour.
You also know the legality of them playing the songs.
I don't think there's any issues.
Probably
honestly,
not.
I don't think there's... The songs, half of them were written by Kerry King himself, so what the fuck? Are you telling me that he can't play the songs that he wrote? Like,
we know people in the industry who have written music for their band and whatever.
I don't think there's an
fucked
issue.
Over.
That's not an issue because look, once again, Rage Against the Machine was playing. I mean, Prophets of Rage was playing Rage Against the Machine songs live. I don't think they can record an album because I mean, with covers, there's certain legalities on covers. I know in terms of royalties, there's certain legalities in terms of what you do with a cover. There's certain things I've talked to guys in the business and they said that with covers there's certain things you have to do in order not to need the permission of the copyright holders in order for you to do the cover. There's certain changes you have to make in order for that to be allowed under fair use. Okay? But playing live is a different story altogether. Otherwise Metallica would be suing all the Metallica cover bands who play their fucking songs live. I think live is a different story. It's not on record. It's live. It's a different story.
That's true.
I think that's a different story.
Okay, so in the end, what the solution of his problem is either create
a Slayer-esque
Prophets of Slayer.
Prophets of Slayer.
and do that shit, or he decides, listen, I can
start my own band.
I start my own band, move into a different version of thrash, but still keep thrash as the main genre that I'm in.
Or death metal. Just start a death metal band.
Or start a death metal band.
Or a deathcore band. Some breakdowns.
Definitely not. So either death metal or thrash metal and just make a band, start making some music. I mean, you are the face of that band anyways. And if you want, you can even have the other guys from Slayer, because they're not going to do shit. You have them part of that band too. It's almost like Slayer's playing, but they're playing completely different music. Kind of like the Audio Slave incident.
Yeah, I
think they can go a Prophets of Rage way, or they can go the Audio Slave way.
I think the Audio Slave worked really well because of Chris Cornell.
Which means they need to find a good
I think it worked really well because of that. I think the fans of Slayer would have a much harder time swallowing a different sound from the Slayer guys, and I don't think they would want to do that because I think that would tarnish the Slayer legacy.
Okay.
I honestly don't think.
So then it's either Prophets of Slayer or he does his own shit and makes his own band or whatever, and maybe take one of the guys from Slayer, because then it's not as
well. He doesn't have to take Gary Holt. Gary Holt is in Exodus, so it's not like he's not busy. So
okay, well then
he knows enough people in the business. Just start your own fucking band.
Exactly.
On your name alone, you know.
On your name alone, you
want to get a record deal and you want to get a tour.
Exactly.
I mean, on his name alone, like that carries a huge amount of weight. Are you kidding me? That's a huge thing.
There's so much to do.
Yeah,
I think.
I don't know. I think there's a little bit. I think there's a little bit of sour grapes.
Maybe, but
I'm not saying he's not right. I'm not saying he's not right, because he probably feels like the rug was pulled from under his feet, and he didn't have an option at the time. Like he was forced into that decision. Like I said, one way or another, he was forced into. And I get it. And I get it that they didn't want to say anything at the time. You know, now almost 3 years have gone by, and he's feeling a little bit more like, you know, fuck, you know, this wasn't good. You know what I mean? I'm not disagreeing with any. I mean, he has the right to say whatever it is that he said, but it just kind of makes me look back at when it happened, and it wasn't as copacetic as we
thought,
as they made it look.
Yeah,
as they made it.
I kind of want to
go.
I kind of want to go there and see, like, oh, what was the real?
I think
sit down.
I think Tom Araya was like, I'm done, guys.
I'm done, guys. Listen,
Health-wise,
I'm done.
I cannot continue.
I can't continue. I'm sorry, but I can't do it. Obviously, there's nothing you can say to him. Oh, suck it up. There's nothing you can say to him.
No. It's valid.
And it's very valid.
And it's valid.
So, yes, he can be sour, but I think he's sour in the fact, not in the fact that they've ended it.
And I don't think he's.
But I think he's sour. I don't think he has any heart.
No, I don't think he has any. I don't think he's harping on the relationship. I don't think there's any.
I think he's just
ill
sad
feelings
that he didn't have the chance to end it. It just
it didn't end it in his terms.
It didn't end in his terms, because maybe he wanted to do a couple more years of it and then end it when he knew.
Or maybe he go until the day he dies. Whatever, like so many bands do. You know. So I don't think there's any sour grapes there between them. I think he's just sour about the whole situation.
Yeah,
that
he has so much opportunity. He has so much, like, his name alone. He has so much opportunities. He can create his own band, go the Prophets of Slayer way. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. Because in the end,
that is
his name
true.
will get him a record.
And maybe complaining doesn't really serve any purpose.
No,
because you do have doors that you can open.
You have doors that many people don't have.
Just open them and walk through them and see what happens. See what happens. I'm with you. I don't know. I don't mind him talking about it. I don't mind any of it, because at least it gives us a better idea of what actually happened.
I'm okay with that.
But I just think outside of our own itch that it scratches in terms of us knowing a little bit more, outside of that, I don't think there's really any benefit
of him
saying that, because it could be misconstrued as him taking as sour grapes, as him taking a low blow at somebody. I don't know. I honestly think that maybe that's something that didn't need it to be said, and just kind of move on and start your own shit.
Yeah.
That's it. Simple as that. At least that's my take. All right. And Slater's in the news. See?
Yeah.
Just like that, Slater's in the news. All right, folks. Hit us up in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts about this Slayer thing. What would you like to see happen? Maybe not anything at all. Just leave it. Just
leave it be.
Let things be as they are. So hit us up in the comment section, and we'll see you all at the next video.
See ya.